People are fond of saying that Mumbai is organized chaos. And I think it's a big problem because it creates misunderstandings.
You're talking about international architects.
Local architect.
It's not like they don't want to discuss the fee, since there is a good relationship between them and the developers.
You know, doctors wouldn't function like this. Lawyers wouldn't function like this. So why is it that just this profession?
Like, you can call it Desi style of working of India. Like, there's a term called Jaban, and people here are ready to work on that, and people stand by that word. How do you find a balance between global luxury standards and the emotionally driven family home in India?
You have this thing called Vastu, which is hugely important. A Chinese that would follow Feng Shui.
What is that?
Feng Shui is the same as Vastu, but it's the Chinese version.
Is there any similarity between Feng Shui and Vastu? The hot, humid climate that is here in India, will it make the mega structures last they are planned for?
The truth is that
If you had to say anything to your 20-year-old, what would you say to yourself?
people will listen to you if you have something to say.
Hello everyone, welcome to Speaking Real Estate Podcast again. And today with us we have Yann Leroy from AXS Design, and I'm very grateful to have this opportunity and time of yours to shoot the podcast with you and discuss a lot of questions and doubts in my mind when it comes to doing work with international architects while working with local architects. And also there's an interesting journey that you have lived through, and you're having decades of experience into this field, so I'm expecting a lot of learnings from you today and hoping it goes well.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
So can we start from the start? Like, what was your education? What made you pursue architecture?
All right. I was born in Africa. I was born in the Congo. Then I grew up in Paris. I finished my university studies in Japan, back when Japan was on top of the world. Then I moved to New York, and I spent most of my adult life in New York, practicing architecture for a company there. I became a partner very rapidly
Why in New York?
because I had a girlfriend.
Okay.
A lot of my life, yes. You know, you have girlfriends, you follow them. And my girlfriend, which I met in Japan, was actually going to New York. So I went to New York just for a few months. And of course, decades later, I was still there. But quite rapidly, a lot of my work ended up being on the other side of the world, back in Asia, China, Southeast Asia. So very rapidly, I would say, early 2000s, I was mostly living in airplanes between New York and Asia. So that was a strain on my family, on me, on everything. And eventually, I bit that bullet, and I decided that I I might as well start things in Asia. So we started a company in Asia, in Thailand, and opened office in China and so on. In the meantime, I had some friends here in Mumbai because I designed the Sofitel here in Mumbai. So we worked together with Access Architects, with Atul Shah, and we had a great time. The project, of course, came out very well, and we ended up doing small little projects over the year, you know, on like very, very, very skinny tower, like those towers in Malabar Hill or uh, Andheri developments and so on. So it was really cool. And recently we said we've been talking about doing something. So about a couple of years ago, we said, okay, let's do it. Because, this foreign architect thing is very frustrating for the foreign architect as well as the client. Because in general, when you do a project, you're involved very heavily for the 6 months at the beginning of the project. And then somehow it's like you lose your baby Some people take the project from you, and you hear less and less and less. And one day you're going to be invited to the opening, and you go there and you hardly recognize the place. Um, so we thought it would be a great way to keep this initial passion of that I'm supposed to give, because here in Mumbai, for instance, I don't know regulations, zonings, and so on. So I'm going to ask stupid questions. But those stupid questions, nobody is asking them. So they are fresh questions. The result is that we're going to look at projects in a different way. It's going to be coherent, we have the expertise and so on, but we're still going to have that freshness. And since I'm coming here, I spend a lot of my time here, we get that freshness, that adventurous feeling all through the projects. I'm going to have draft people going to come and say, oh, what about this? What do we do there? All the way through the project, rather than at the beginning, as you would normally do with an international designer. But Asia has been for a long time where not my interest, my activity has been
in the Asia, majorly
yeah,
in recent years.
yeah.
So, your original thought for pursuing architecture?
My original passion, yeah, I would think so. My grandfather was already architect in Vietnam and Cambodia. And I remember when the Americans started to bomb Cambodia, it was time for him to go back home to France. And he very rapidly died because, he just couldn't stand it anymore. But I remember him teaching me perspective and sketch and telling me at the same time, never be an architect. In spite of that, I think he would be very happy.
Because of the amount of work you have done.
Yeah, and because you do something you like.
How did you like shift and transition into working more on the areas in Asia region from the States?
Well, the States, no, I've done buildings in the States. I've done buildings from Philadelphia to basically on the Eastern Seaboard, New York, New Jersey, places like this. And it was an adventure for me, but it was very um, there was not really a great deal of room for dreaming. When from the other side of the world, I don't know, from Saudi Arabia or Dubai, or some people come to you and they say, you have to make us dream. So that's a different challenge. And that's a challenge I rose to a few times. Um, maybe there was more dreaming as a concept designer. There was more dreaming happening in Asia back then when I started working here.
So you have worked in like different countries like Paris, New York, China. How do you find it different compared to when working in India?
People are fond of saying that Mumbai is organized chaos, right? There is a little bit of that. There is a little bit of that. Um, it's funny. I mean, for instance, architects are quite well respected here. They have a good, probably more respected, socially respected here than they are in Europe, I would say. However, there seem to be issues with a designer talking about money. I don't know if you know the painter Salvador Dali. Salvador Dali, a great surrealistic painter.
In Asia,
No,
Europe?
in Europe back in the 1930s. So Dali did all those crazy, crazy things, and this young painter comes to him and says, "Oh, master," because you would call him master. You don't know Dali with a big mustache like this. Oh, I want to be so much to be a painter, an artist. I'm ready to eat, you know, nothing. I want to be an artist. What is your advice? And he says, well, if you want to be a painter and live as a painter, you have to learn how to eat caviar and lobster and expensive food all the time, because all your clients, this is what they're going to feed you. So this guy had no problem with money because he saw that this was only rich people could buy his paintings. The same way, if you do a big project, say, it's going to be a minimum of 100 million, 200 million US dollars. And if you have problems discussing your fees in that kind of environment, then there is something wrong, right? Your fee is going to be that much of a percentage of the total cost. So it is okay to discuss money. You discuss it, it's resolved, go. Here in India, and I guarantee you in China, architects will discuss money. In New York, they will talk to you about money right away. And then it's done. Here in India, there is a reluctance on the part of the architects to actually discuss money with their clients. And I think it's a big problem because it creates misunderstandings. When you start on a big project like this, the last thing you want is misunderstandings. You want everybody's role to be nice and clear and outlined. So that's where I see a huge difference. Socially, architects are well respected, but they lack that willingness to discuss something which is very, very, very basic.
Why do you think so? Architects, like you're talking about international architects who are working in India, right?
No, I'm a local architect.
Local architects it's like it's not like they don't want to discuss the fee, but since there is a good relationship between them and the developers, and people are wanting to do more work rather than just stick to one project, be stuck in the
But it's
negotiation for
silly.
weeks.
Look, there are some restaurants I love in Mumbai and elsewhere. I go to those restaurants all the time. I have a good relationship with the restaurant. But I guarantee you, every time I eat there, the people that give me a bill that I have to pay. Lawyers, well, I don't have very good relationship with lawyers, but every time I talk to my lawyer or anything, there's going to be a bill. Why should it? Your doctor, you have a relationship to your doctor,
So
right?
there is a bill. Definitely it's there, but I believe there is such a huge amount of competition that the local architects are preferring to first take the work and then charge it, like without even discussing the fee. Because if they get stuck into that process and manner of
Yeah,
discussing the
but you can
fee,
see how it's not healthy. You can see how, doctors wouldn't function like this. Restaurant owners wouldn't function. Lawyers wouldn't function like this. Um, so why is it that just this profession?
so not discussing doesn't mean that the developers are not going to pay or the architects over here are not going to receive their dues. Definitely they receive their dues and they get paid also. But I feel it's somewhere the strength lies in the developers over here, because the amount or the number of big players in this industry is limited. Like there are definitely a lot of developers who are not at that scale where huge branded developers or people or developers who have delivered is not that high. So when it comes to these architects for getting work, there is a huge amount of competition between lots of local architects to get that work from the developer, and them to just get the work first, like them getting associated with that brand ki chalo, if they get to do one project.
You're correct. There is in business development, there is always a little bit of that happening everywhere. That you do some concept work.
Like free of charge or show an
Absolutely.
intention.
As a business development kind of thing. That's fine. Um, I suppose it's everywhere is that. I do have this feeling though that here it goes quite far. Probably farther, certainly farther than what I've seen in China.
Okay, there is a, like you can call it desi style of working of India. Like there is a term called jaban. Jaban means like the word given by someone, and people here are ready to work on that word which people give, and people stand by that word.
There seem to be some special relationship, like as you say, the big players around and the some old clients and so on. There is some clientele kind of relationship that appear to be genuine. And I've seen some clients who who really cared for the architects. It's a funny thing to say, but they really care. However, I think as you have new generations of developers coming on the scene, which may not have the same culture as their parents, I think you're gonna go.
Yes, yes, I
This thing
agree
is
with you.
going
Change.
to change.
It'll
Yeah.
take few years or maybe a decade or more, but I feel definitely the processes the processes processes are getting more like regularized,
Yeah.
and people want to follow a particular set of timeline, set of playbook to do the work and not rely more on that word, just a word.
Absolutely.
So, moving on to another topic, Mumbai has like tall, modern buildings and it also has like historic old buildings. So, what is your view of architecture on Bombay?
I brought this time and I brought my little daughter with me, and so we go around Mumbai, and every time I go in front of Victoria Terminal, I say, "This is my favorite building in Mumbai," and it is definitely one of everybody's favorite. But as you go, I don't know, um, from Sion down, you have all these fantastic buildings, but 6 story tall and like little in all those streets. And of course, they look more than tired, they look terrible. But if you squint and you imagine them renovated, just not enlarged, just renovated, it would be gorgeous. It would be fantastic. Then you go to Marine Drive, of course, you have like gorgeous looking buildings, this Art Deco thing. Now, that's a lot of um, unrecognized buildings right there, which are not protected. Um, and okay, they are not as good looking as the Victoria Terminal, but they're awfully good looking. And what is replacing them is not necessarily always very good. Um, I find the architecture to be, for some reason, uh, compared to Japan back in the 90s, compared to New York, there is something missing in the mix here that is done is not helping the city. Um, this idea first of all the buildings have a tendency to be beige and gray and have those frames on them and everything, so that doesn't help. But I don't know if you agree with me, but this notion of the street wall, right? A city, you have streets, and on each side of the street you have walls. New York, you are not allowed to recess your building from the street. You have to be at that line. Same thing in Paris and London. You have to keep the line. But here it doesn't seem to be. Um, so you end up having a bunch of towers along the a street rather than having a street wall. And when that happens, you kind of destroy that street feeling. I don't know if you agree with me. Uh, that's something very particular to. No, it happens also in Bangkok. In Bangkok, you're going to have the same problem where there is no street wall.
You're talking about the street path, like for walking?
For instance, if you're in Paris, you walk on the sidewalk.
Yes.
You have a street wall. You have the building is right here, and it goes along the street. It doesn't go back in behind the park or anything. It's just there.
It's a long, huge building.
It's a building. The building edge is at the street, at the um, at the edge of it.
Yes,
Right.
yes, yes.
Same thing in New York. You're not allowed to recess your building into, away from the sidewalk. So that creates a continuous what I call street wall.
I'll tell you why that is the case in Bombay. According to government rules and regulations, government has made a compulsion to keep a minimum open area on the side of the project. Like if the plot for fire,
Yeah, fire
no,
and stuff. It's lovely, but New York is still around. They don't have that. there is a requirement for a backyard. All those big buildings, technically they have a backyard, but it's a tiny thing. But you certainly don't have anything at the street level, say about up to 10 stories. You don't need to have a side gap. So all the buildings can be like this.
I got your point. I feel that will make a change in the beautification.
You see what I'm saying? It's like think about Lisbon. Also, you have those continuous buildings, and inside you have like parks and stuff. Paris is the same, long street, and it creates a city. Um, but individually, for residential, maybe it's a little bit different. But certainly for downtown, you need to make sure that these buildings create that city interesting texture.
India's climate is very hot,
It's driving me crazy.
humid.
Right now we are, so that people know, we are taping this monsoon. Oh my God, it's driving me crazy. And I seem to be very lucky because people tell me, well, it's a very wet one. And it's like, my God, it is. Yes, it's driving me crazy.
What kind
What
of
is your
climate do you
question?
like? Do you like cold weather?
No, I like perfect swimming pool side weather. When I can be on the side of a swimming pool with, huh?
European summers?
Exactly, something like that. Yeah.
So compared to like other countries and continents, the hot, humid climate that is here in India, will it make the mega structures last for as much as long they are planned for?
I've done some buildings in Hong Kong, for instance, where it's quite hot and humid. Um, and they use a lot of porcelain, a lot of tiles on their buildings, with the idea that somehow it's going to cut down on the maintenance. The truth is that between the humidity and the pollution, it cakes on top of your tiles anyway. So you don't save all that much. You have to be ready to clean your buildings on a regular basis. The best way would be if you have a big building, you start cleaning and you never stop. You keep on going around your building. Here, there is a great deal of use of masonry, and obviously masonry structures get dirty, and they need maintenance. You have to paint a little more, much more so than the new buildings that you'll find in Bangkok. Bangkok is not particularly clean. It's very humid. But if you look at all these new condominium towers and everything, it's a lot of aluminum and a lot of glass. So that's quite easy to clean. Cleaning masonry buildings is much more challenging. You have to basically repaint them every 5 years. So it's much more challenging. It might be the habits. I understand that aluminum sidings and everything are not very popular here for some reason. Um, so that might be one of the reasons why the maintenance seems to be more problematic here than it is elsewhere.
Agreed with you. Like if it's like masonry work, it will require a much more time, challenges compared to when it's just glass and aluminum.
So the Chinese in Hong Kong, they put tiles, but tiles are expensive. Thank you very much. The Thai and the Malaysia, they're going to use a lot of aluminum, but here they still rely on a lot of stucco kind of finish, and those are really really tough, and they get to look not very pleasant very quickly.
So you have worked in different continents, Africa, Europe, Asia, States. Is there any particular element that you make sure that you carry anywhere you go in the world and try to design something?
Well, first I'm going to say good morning when I arrive in the morning in the office, which sometimes is going to surprise people. But enjoy where you are. It's like if you need to enjoy where you are. I've lived some places actually when I was thinking back on it. were not all that pleasant. But you better be ready to find a way to be happy where you are. If you do, I think you have a chance at uh, serving that place, making it look better, serving the users living there, and so on. So yeah, my first advice to anybody is like enjoy where you are or where your project is going to be, and chances are you're going to do a good job at serving the place and the users. Sometimes it's tough though.
Fair enough to plan an idea on the place, on the project from where it is.
There is nothing like being at the site to see the site. Yes, you have some cities which was like flat as a pancake, and that site is exactly the same as that other site. But it's always so on that theoretically you could get a few pictures and everything and draw it elsewhere. Um, I mean that guy who designed the Victoria terminal, he never came to Mumbai, right? Turned out okay. So yes, you can function like this, but it's not my way of functioning. I want to see where the building is going to be and get a sense. Sometimes it's not that important, but most often it is, and it's a good thing to understand the place.
How do you find a balance between global luxury standards and the emotionally driven family home in India?
Here, you have this thing called Vastu.
Yes.
It's hugely important. And people, I saw the other day, I was in a friend's apartment, huge, thing, brand new and everything. And I go into the kitchen, very nice big kitchen, except the sink was like in the corner over there, and the rest of the kitchen was over there. So what's going on? But this is Vastu. I said, you couldn't put this one for Vastu and put another one, a practical one. No, no, we cannot do that. Um, so it's going to create some conditions which do not appear logical to a foreigner. But for Chinese, they would not appear logical either. A Chinese that would follow Feng Shui.
What is that?
Feng Shui is the same as Vastu, but it's
Oh,
the Chinese version.
okay.
So Feng Shui,
Is there any similarity between Feng Shui and Vastu?
they try to organize how things are planned, designed, and so on. But they function quite differently. And mostly their results are completely different. Now, it's 1.5 billion people on the other side of the Himalayas, right? It's 1.5 billion people. And I can guarantee you, they, they don't agree on where to put the head in the bed, the head of the bed. They don't agree. For the Chinese, of course, you put the head of the bed to the north, of course. Here, it's going to be to the south. So obviously, not everybody can be right. However, in both cases, it's important for them. So this becomes part of your program, part of the thing you have to take into account. If I tell somebody, imagine I do an interior or something, and I'm going to have a wall is going to be green, right? And that person comes in and says, no, 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 I don't like green, but I cannot stand green. I'm not going to force these people living in a green house, right? Same thing. If they believe in Vastu, for instance, my job is to make it as comfortable and practical as possible. So I'm going to take in the Vastu as part of things that need to be addressed.
How much has like Vastu changed your designs?
It has. It hasn't. Um, it hasn't because sometimes it doesn't make much sense. As I said, the head of the bed to the north or to the south, right? The it's one set of parameters that you have to address. It's it's something that is neither silly nor particularly serious. It's just one thing that you need to do so that you make your client comfortable. When it comes to luxury for hotels, it's a different ball game altogether. Um, Vastu in hotel design, except sometimes in site planning and location of the kitchen and stuff like that. Doesn't really matter. International brands could not care less. And people will, if they go to Ritz-Carlton room, they will expect a Ritz-Carlton room. They will not expect a Vastu compliant room. And I think it's acceptable. Look at all the, Indian folks who are like the largest growing part of tourists in Thailand right now. They grow like by double digits every year. They don't, when they get there, they don't get a Vastu room and they survive. So when you go to a hotel, it's entirely different. You are expecting sort of a inspirational luxury, what you've seen in magazines, what you've seen in movies, and so on. All this other domestic stuff you leave on the side, and that's quite fascinating because there seem to be this international, um, back there was the international style of architecture. All the buildings look the same, but now there seem to be this international style of luxury. You need this, and that. Um, and everybody seems to be very good at recognizing it.
So it does definitely matter a lot in when it comes to residential, but in hotels you have a good amount of flexibility when it comes to us.
Yes.
So you have done like mega structures, urban planning, and like huge hotel projects. How does it look behind the scenes of these projects versus like small projects?
Big projects, usually there is a big team behind. It's a big team of professionals. Decisions are most often business-driven decisions, which make sense to everybody. When you deal with somebody's house, it's entirely different. Decisions are not necessarily making sense. You are dealing with a small team of people, which is going to be the family, for instance, you build for, who do not make business-driven decisions. So you have a lot more surprises in a house. I can give you an example, for instance. Back in New York, like in Westchester, New York, is doing this house for these people. My God. So it's many years ago. And the house is a beautiful kitchen, like American style is great and so on. And then one weekend, the lady of the house, or the mother of this family, discovers um, in a magazine this toaster, where you put your bread, a toaster that would actually recess into the wall.
Toaster?
A toaster, so you press a button and the toaster comes out of the wall.
Okay, it's
You put your bread, and when it's finished, you put it back in the wall. She was completely obsessed with toaster. We had to redesign the entire kitchen because of a toaster. Because obviously it's electrical stuff. You cannot be too close to the sink. Da 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 da. You have to have a wall big enough. We had to redesign the entire kitchen because of the toaster. So these are the kind of problems you run into when you do people's houses.
I feel there is a lot of emotional value and lot of deeper thoughts and much more care given to when it comes to a house where a lot of emotional value is attached.
There is. So on the one hand, it can work out very well. On the other hand, you can actually lose your shirt as a designer, because actually you end up spending as much time designing a house as you would design a 200-bedroom hotel, except the fee is not the same.
The effort can be same, be it a small project or a big project.
That being said, I've been designing um, a lot of smaller projects recently, um, which I find which are a lot of fun. But not a house, so it's like at least it's still business driven kind of thing. Beach clubs, for instance, using a lot of bamboo structures and so on. So it's a lot of fun. Beach clubs, villa resorts, and those you would actually are much smaller than big urban hotels, for instance. Um, but very rapidly, I'm allowed to play with textures and materials and colors, and they actually are very important. So I enjoy doing those smaller commercial projects like beach clubs and touristic destinations.
So you have seen the evolution of architectural industry for over decades.
Decades, yes.
What do you think has changed, transitioned, or what are the things that has remained the same as core principles?
First, there seem to be too many architects. It's one thing. You know, secondly, all right, let's be slightly technical here. Um, in your opinion, who were like the three greatest architects of the 20th century? I don't know. People will think Le Corbusier, maybe Frank Lloyd Wright, maybe Miss Van der Rohe. You know, Miss Van der Rohe, like less is more. Well, those three guys never went to architectural school. Never. 0 day in architectural school. They are the three greatest names some of the 20th century. Now I was now to become an architect you have like 7 years of school. Um so obviously something has shifted. The architectural schools are getting rich because you're forced to go through the school. And it creates a lot of fodder, a lot of workers that you can pay a little less than you would. Um, a good draftsman in the States, a good draftsman in a big architectural company would do very well for himself in terms of he would have his house, his wife would stay home, they would have two kids, they would have cars and so on, just on that one draftman salary. Today, it's unthinkable. So the value of the work and the average salaries of those young architects has been going down and down and down, but the cost of those studies is going up and up and up. So at one point, there's going to be a problem. And I know maybe this is not the what you wanted to talk about, but I think if there was a big change, that would be that one. But because technology is changing slowly, remarkably slowly. You're gonna talk to me about AI, maybe, but the size of a room is still going to be the same. The size of the stairs is still going to be the same. So it's not really doesn't have an impact on architecture, but of the social and economic conditions of architects, I think has been unfortunately has been under pressure for many 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 years.
Fair enough. I feel the evolution of studies in the architectural area and technology has been the major change, but the area still remains the same and
Yeah.
innovative materials have came in.
I was talking to somebody um, in an interview like this. I saw that somebody was saying, "Oh, what has been the impact of technology on the design of hotels?" I said, none. I mean, a ballroom is the size of a ballroom. The pre-function is the size of pre-function. Your kitchen is that size, and so on. This all this technology thing is has to do with systems which are not really. They don't take all that much space, really. They don't change the size of your corridor or anything. So, not all that much impact there. Um, but the cost of the room, that's where it's at.
You have designed like 20,000 hotel rooms.
Yes, design. No, they're not all built, but designed. Yes, yes, yes.
So, what has been the globally most surprising part in designing a hotel?
I first of all, I learned to. I was working in New York. There was my with my partner David Beer, who loved hotels. He just loved hotels, old style 5-star hotels. He was very surprised when I landed in the studio in New York that I actually knew the places he was talking about. Um, but there is something special about luxury hotels. They are the living room of the city. It used to be if you wanted to meet, you would meet at for tea at the peninsula in Hong Kong, or you would go at the bar of the Savoy in London, or that they were really places where everybody could hang around. Um, and I think they still deserve to be. Now, w- the big surprise when I started to be able to design them. Like the Sofitel in New York, for instance. I did that, and a few Sofitels after that. And I was very surprised when people were actually listening to my opinion on what a five-star hotel should be. This is when I realized I was not so young anymore, and actually I had the experience that people respected. Uh, and to move on, the great deal of respect that I got over the years from people in the hospitality industry. They are usually professionals. They've been doing that all their lives, and they behave like professionals. It's a smooth kind of project. I like that. I like that. The big surprise in terms of design was in Thailand. So I did this Santara Grand in Thailand, which is a I tell the story to these guys. So they have all the board, for Santara, etc. All the boards, all these old guys and so on. Just like the presentation just before we can go eat some shark fin soup and so on. And so I do this thing and I tell the story. I like to have a simple concept. I go, yeah, the building is like a lotus flower and everything. Big success. The afternoon after the shark fin soup, they signed. They signed. This is it. This is what we want. Puff, puff, puff. They signed the project, and we saved somewhat some money. We mostly we it was not as tall as we wanted, but they built it. They built it just because they love the story. And you know what? It's important because they can go home. Um, they were all of them were guys. That's why I'm saying they go back to their wives and say, "Oh, honey, what Well, we had the architect showing the concept. So what is it? Well, it's a lotus flower. So you don't have to go with like a difficult story about the existential angst of people in the 21st century or some kind of very very complicated. It's a lotus flower. So I love those kind of very very simple concepts. And the client loved it because then we did a number of other hotels after that. But the big surprise was we have lunch and that's it. Signed, next phase. That was great.
I feel when that part of the deal is also fast and clear, it keeps the motivation and dedication of the architect on the project also very high, and it brings out some more designs and innovation in the project as well.
And it's rewarding. It's also rewarding. Um, you have been working for a charrette. You're a charrette, as we say. A charrette means a little cart. And at the school, at the Beaux Arts school, so you would ask the students to do a project on site. Back ink wash, and like gorgeous looking things. But after at a certain time, after a day or two, so people slept, they did it. There would be a cart coming to pick up all the big boards produced by each of the students, and some of the students would be like walking along with the cart, finishing their drawing, and people saying they are charrette because it's cart. So now we still use that word, but after all this intense work of weeks and weeks of work to get a client who actually appreciates your work is a great, great, great reward. Sometimes it doesn't go anywhere, and but at least the people acknowledge that you've put in a lot of work. Even the l- least likely people. I'm thinking of President Donald Trump, for instance. When we presented all this work we were working on some Atlantic City property. Here is Donald Trump and everything. Says, thank you very much. So he's a rather short guy, but short in terms of these meetings are pretty short. Thank you very much. Very creative and so on. Shake hand. Even that is fantastic. It's like somebody has actually looked at your work and enjoyed it. That's a great, great reward.
Fair enough. Like, totally can get your point. You have traveled across so many places in the world. What's your favorite place?
Ah, that's a difficult question. So now that I travel to Paris as a tourist, I love Paris. It's great. But after a few weeks, it drives me crazy. A little bit like here, after too long, it drives me mad. But when I'm in Thailand, for instance, maybe I'm going to miss China a little bit. No, there are like good things everywhere you go. Um, what I would call home right now, yeah, would be mostly Thailand, actually, at this point in my life. At this point in my life, maybe in 10 years, it's going to be different. I get the good mix. First of all, it's quite central. You can go to China 4 hours. You can come here 4 hours. Right? And you go to also 4 hours. You can be in 5 hours. You can be in Japan. So it's a great thing. Um, People are nice. The food is good. Yeah, yeah. Thailand is pretty good.
If you had to say anything to your 20-year-old, what would you say to yourself?
Um, People will listen to you if you have something to say. So I was very shy, like all young men are. I was, a shy boy, and sometimes it was a mistake. Most people will listen to a good idea, even if it comes from somebody like the print boy. If it's a good idea, people will listen to it. I wish I had been uh, more outgoing, so that I could have expressed some good ideas when they were needed. That being said, this is part of what you do when you get a little older. You mature and you learn those things. Yeah, I would say like go out and tell your piece to the world a little more forcefully than I did.
One question came like, uh, how did you manage to open offices in different countries and how do you manage that?
Oh, it's because of personal relationships.
Okay.
I had friends, for instance. When I opened this company in Thailand, it was because I had a friend there who said, like, you have to open a company here. Same thing in China, saying that you come here, no, no, here's the money, we do it. Um, and here also was the same. It's like, let's do something together. It's always on a personal. It's not a market. Otherwise, I would be in Saudi Arabia. It's because there are people that I like, that I enjoy, and are ready to do things together.
Fair enough. Totally understand. I think so, Yan, you have taught a lot with your experience today and did share a huge amount of things when it comes to working with an international architect, the ways, the mindset, and thought processes of yours when it comes to designing residential, commercial, the compliance of Vastu when it comes to India, and the, I forgot that term, what you call it in
Feng
China,
Shui.
Feng Shui in China. Thank you so much for being a part of it,
Oh,
coming
you're most
here,
welcome.
and really grateful to connect with you.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
And we could have gone on because I had some questions for you about
You can.
but because you were mentioning that how things are moving a little bit in terms of not just fees but also zoning, the changes in Mumbai, which can be of importance. Um, and the question I had really is, so you've been abroad, you come back here, and it's like me when I go back to Paris. Right? It's like you rediscover your place. What was your biggest surprise when you came back?
From my master's,
Yeah.
I feel I had went for a year only,
Mm.
and definitely like one big change which I experienced where our company was growing, but still somewhere I was actively being a part of our company in terms of what is working and was aware how the things are going, what kind of projects we have taken, who is in our team. So was totally aware of everything. And I feel I came a little bit in a too short span of time where nothing majorly or a big shift had happened. So somewhere I feel it it majorly stayed same except for the some growth we had in that 1 year.
But isn't it something that projects have a very long life
Yes,
here in Mumbai?
yes. So like I feel our company at Rishabraj is a growing company, and in last 4 5 years we have grown a lot, and we like it's a 15-year-old company. Initially we were developing small 9 story buildings, then 12, then 15, 20. And in the last 3 4 years we have started designing or building high rise buildings from like 120 meters, and now our first few proposals which are crossing 120 meters and going up to 240 meters as well. So all of that is happening right now in terms of the scale of the projects which is increasing, and all of these projects somewhere were in the acquisition period, some of them are in the acquisition period right now, where acquisition also takes a period of 1 or 2 years. So I was aware that we are acquiring this project, and that had taken some progress while I came back. But the main thing, if you want me to say what changed or experienced I had, the more would be the experience that I had for my master's year, the kind of things I experienced which wouldn't be possible here in Mumbai.
No, you're right there. Like, you look at the size of these buildings. So in our office, for instance, here, in our office, 80 meters is a small project, right? It really is. It's a small
Yes.
project. 120, we start to talk about something, and then there is like things which are crazy. So okay, I understand. It takes time to get the land, to get the design, to get the approvals, to build it. I understand it takes time. However, the Empire State Building in New York was 18 months construction,
Yes, I'm aware of that.
right? So, do you think we're putting? Why is it so slow? Is it just because business is business? It takes time, or is there specifically in Mumbai some zoning issues or approval issues that are actually more time consuming than, say, New York, for instance?
I feel the biggest thing in Bombay's real estate industry which can cause a delay or slow down the process is the approvals part of the project, where the government follows a very strict norms, procedure, and a lot of personal intention of people is also involved in that process. And them trying to get some personal benefit out of these processes, or maybe people from the politicians point of view are also there, sometimes they can also cause a delay with an intention of getting some personal benefit out of it again. I feel whenever someone comes up with that thought and wanting to interfere the project with that intention, that is what at times cause the delays. And I feel if there is a good barrier or some protection built where you have legally safeguarded yourself from all of these things, and having your proper plans and building is fully approvable, then I don't think so should be an issue. Sometimes it's the fault of the developer also, who is wanting to do things which are not in the government rule book.
I've had that experience here, but it's an experience which is also can be the same in China. Here, for instance, you're going to have some developers. Yeah, there is the airport, right? So the airport is a problem because of the flight path and so on. You can only get this. And I remember a client here. It will remain without a name. We were doing this building, and we were allowed, I think, about 12 stories or so. And that's because, the aviation requirements, it's 12 stories. And he insisted that he could get 4 more stories, because he knew somebody. I know, we are going to talk and everything. So 4 more stories. Well, of course. Well, after a year of talking, and what do you think happened? We didn't get the 4 stories. And it's the same thing. I've experienced the same thing with people in China. It's, oh, my friend is like the local secretary of the Communist Party. We're going to get this, we're going to get that. And you never do. Nobody wants to go to jail, right? Or in China, it's worse than that. Nobody wants to go to jail. Pretty much, you need to do whatever is in the rules. Sometimes the rules are a bit difficult to read, but
Sometimes many rules are open ended as well. Like there are some loopholes at times, which some players try to take benefit out of that.
not that often, actually, right? No, that's funny because that's international. It's not just India. It's completely international. People think they can get more than actually they're allowed to get. Yeah, so that's I remember we took like 6 months delay just because we couldn't get those 4 stories, which we knew we couldn't. No, that was quite funny. Welcome to India. Welcome to China. Welcome to. Uh, there is a worse. Actually, I have a worse story for you. That in Jakarta. So I was working with Tommy Suarto. So was the son of the dictator. So my daddy is the dictator of like the second largest democracy in the world. Um, and it was unbelievable. This guy would take money absolutely from everywhere. He would take money from, so whatever we were being paid, he would take 10%. He's the client, huh? The interior designers, it would take 10%. The faucets, it would take 10%. All of this paid somewhere, in Europe. He is the client, but it would get 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%, no problem. It's like, but I thought your daddy was, but the fact that his daddy was also the dictator of the second largest democracy on the face of the planet, um, also did help. But how you can behave like this was mind-boggling. Now, I think Indonesia has gotten a little better, but talk about being surprised as you come from the United States and you go into that kind of thing. It's just, it's like a hot water, either a hot bath or cold bath, or, big surprise. The same thing in Vietnam. I had people negotiating a contract saying, okay, this is the price and so on. There is a local architect, and the client saying, well, you know how things are done here. The client, and then I said, no, how is it done? Everybody is embarrassed. What they meant is that I was supposed to, from our fee, I was supposed to give them money. Except that in the US, if you are shown to have done this, you can go to jail in the US. And I had no intention of going to jail, to visit the inside of a jail in America. So, but I wanted to needle them a little longer. I said, no, what do you mean how it's done? So until they had to say it, that they wanted 10% of the fee paid to them. In Vietnam, not so long ago. So that happens, and those are the worst things that can happen to business, because nobody trusts anybody after that.
Fair enough. Like I totally get your point.
Anyway, that's
You have any doubts, any other questions for Mumbai's real estate?
no. I had something specific before we started, and then I forgot.
Thank you, Yan, for becoming a part of this, coming here and giving your time, thoughts, and everything. Looking forward to working together someday.
Me too.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you very much.